Now let's begin. Gabriel McCarty had built what most would call a perfect life. At 34, he worked as a chemical engineer for a pharmaceutical company, owned a modest two-story house in a quiet suburb of Portland, and had a wife and daughter who meant everything to him. His daughter, Lily, had just turned 8. Bright eyes, infectious laughter, the kind of kid who still believed in magic and goodness. His wife, Miranda, came from money and expectations. Her father, Reginald Davenport, had been a federal prosecutor for 30 years before retiring with commendations and connections that stretched across the state. The Davenports were old Portland, the kind of family whose name appeared on hospital wings and charity galas. When Gabriel married Miranda 6 years ago, Reginald had made it clear through tight smiles and firm handshakes that Gabriel was acceptable, barely, but would need to prove himself worthy of the family name. Gabriel had tried. He'd worked 70-hour weeks, bought the house in the right neighborhood, attended the charity dinners in ill-fitting suits. But Reginald's eyes always held that same measuring gaze, finding Gabriel wanting. Miranda loved her father, defended him, saw his controlling nature as protection rather than manipulation. Gabriel had learned to bite his tongue, to be civil, to maintain peace for Miranda's sake. That changed on a Tuesday night in October. Gabriel had just dozed off when the knocking started, urgent, persistent, the kind that meant emergency. He grabbed his phone, 11:47 p.m. He stumbled downstairs in his boxers and t-shirt, checking the peephole. Vernon Baker stood on his porch. Vernon was his next-door neighbor, a quiet man in his 50s who worked nights as an ER nurse and kept to himself. They'd exchanged maybe 20 words in the 2 years since the Bakers moved in. Vernon's wife had left him last spring. Gabriel had noticed the absence but never asked. "Vernon? Everything okay?" Vernon's face was pale, drawn. His hands trembled. "Gabriel, I need to talk to you. Now. It's urgent." Gabriel opened the door. Vernon stepped inside, looking back toward his house like he expected to be followed. He was carrying a manila envelope, clutching it against his chest. "I installed a new security system last week," Vernon said, his voice low and strained. "One of those comprehensive ones. 8 cameras, motion sensors, the works. The company that installed it, they positioned the cameras to cover my entire property line." He paused, swallowing hard. "One of them, the one covering my back fence, it accidentally picked up your backyard." Gabriel felt a cold finger trace down his spine. "Okay. Every day when you leave for work," Vernon continued, and his voice cracked slightly, "your father-in-law comes over. With 2 other men. They go into your house through the back door. They're there for hours, Gabriel. And what they're doing to your daughter." He thrust the envelope toward Gabriel. "I have 4 days of footage." For days. The world tilted. Gabriel's hand went out to steady himself against the wall. "What?" "Don't react," Vernon said urgently, gripping Gabriel's shoulder. "Don't tell your wife. Don't confront anyone. Don't let them know you know. I've seen enough in the ER to know. If you tip your hand now, evidence disappears, stories align, lawyers get involved. Men like Reginald Davenport don't go down easy." His eyes were fierce. "Pretend this conversation never happened. Meet me tomorrow at the Riverside Diner on McLaughlin. 1 p.m. Come alone. I'll bring everything I have." Gabriel took the envelope with numb fingers. It was sealed, heavy. "Don't watch it tonight," Vernon said. "Not with your wife and daughter in the house. You'll need to be somewhere you can process it. Somewhere private." He turned toward the door, then looked back. "I'm sorry, Gabriel. I'm so goddamn sorry. But you needed to know." Then Vernon was gone, slipping back across the dark lawn to his house. Gabriel stood in his foyer, the envelope burning in his hands. Upstairs, he could hear Miranda's soft breathing, the house settling, Lily's night light glowing from beneath her door. His perfect life. His little girl. He wanted to run upstairs, to scoop Lily up, to check her for what? Bruises? Trauma? Fear? But Vernon's words echoed, "Don't react. Don't let them know you know." Gabriel walked to his study on legs that didn't feel like his own. He locked the door, sat at his desk, and stared at the envelope for 20 minutes before sliding it into his locked drawer beneath tax documents and insurance papers. Sleep was impossible. He lay beside Miranda, watching the ceiling fan rotate, his mind spinning through 4 days of footage, through implications he couldn't yet process, through the image of Reginald Davenport, distinguished, connected, powerful Reginald Davenport, and what Vernon's terrified face suggested. At 6:15 a.m., Gabriel's alarm went off. He went through his morning routine on autopilot. Shower, shave, coffee. Miranda came down in her robe, yawning, beautiful in the morning light that streamed through the kitchen windows. "You're up early," she said, kissing his cheek. "Big day at work," Gabriel lied. "New project kicking off." Lily bounced into the kitchen in her pajamas, bedhead and sleepy eyes. "Daddy." Gabriel scooped her up, held her tight, searching her face for something. "Anything." She giggled and squirmed. "Too tight, Daddy." "Sorry, pumpkin." He set her down, his heart hammering. She seemed normal, happy. Was that possible? Could she be hiding it? Or was Vernon wrong? No. Vernon's face had been too haunted for it to be wrong. "I'll pick her up from school today," Miranda said, pouring cereal. "Dad's coming over for lunch. He wants to talk about the foundation gala next month." Gabriel's hand tightened around his coffee mug. "Your dad's coming here? Today? Around 11. Is that okay? Don't react." "Yeah, that's fine. I'll be at work anyway." He kissed them both goodbye, grabbed his briefcase, and walked to his car. Behind him, he could feel Vernon's house watching. He didn't look back. Gabriel drove to his office, badged in, walked to his lab. His team was already assembled for the morning briefing. He went through the motions, discussed synthesis protocols, reviewed purity analysis, approved timeline adjustments. His mind was elsewhere. At 10:30 a.m., he told his supervisor he was feeling ill and needed to go home. At 10:45, he was parked 3 blocks from his house, watching his street through binoculars he kept in his trunk for the occasional hiking trip. At 10:52, a black Mercedes pulled up. Reginald Davenport stepped out, distinguished in a charcoal suit. He was followed by 2 men Gabriel didn't recognize. One was massive, easily 6'4" with the build of a retired linebacker. The other was thin, nervous-looking, constantly checking his phone. Gabriel's hands shook as he watched them walk up to his front door. Miranda answered, hugged her father. They disappeared inside. Gabriel waited. At 11:15, the black Mercedes was still there. At 11:30, still there. At 12:05, Miranda emerged with shopping bags, got into her SUV, and drove away. The Mercedes remained. At 12:20, Gabriel couldn't take it anymore. He drove to a McDonald's parking lot, sat in his car, and opened the envelope. Inside were 4 USB drives, each labeled with a date, and a note in Vernon's handwriting. "Don't watch without headphones. Audio is worse than video." Gabriel's hands trembled so badly he could barely get his laptop out of his briefcase. He plugged in the first drive, inserted his earbuds, and clicked play. The footage showed his backyard from an elevated angle. Vernon's camera had a clear view over the fence. The timestamp read 8:47 a.m., Monday, 4 days ago. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the back door opened. Lily came out first, backpack on, heading toward the car where Miranda would drive her to school. She was laughing about something, so small, so innocent. Gabriel's chest constricted. At 9:02, after Miranda's car pulled away, the back gate opened. Reginald Davenport entered, wearing slacks and a polo shirt. He unlocked the back door with a key. A key? How long had he had a key? And went inside. At 9:15, the gate opened again. The 2 men Gabriel had just seen entered. Gabriel fast-forwarded. At 9:47, movement. The massive man came out to the backyard carrying Lily. She was in her school uniform, clearly had been brought back. She wasn't struggling. She looked resigned, familiar with this routine. The thin man followed, carrying a video camera. Gabriel ripped the earbuds out. He was going to vomit. He was going to drive home right now and kill them all with his bare hands. He was going to. Don't react. Don't let them know you know. He forced himself to breathe. Forced himself to think. Vernon was right. Reginald Davenport was connected. Former prosecutor. He'd know every judge, every lawyer, every cop. He'd have plans, contingencies, stories. And if Gabriel moved now, emotional and obvious, Reginald would see him coming. Gabriel closed the laptop without watching more. He couldn't. Not yet. Not until he had a plan. At 1 p.m., Gabriel walked into the Riverside Diner. Vernon was in a back booth, looking like he hadn't slept. 2 coffee cups sat in front of him, both empty. Gabriel slid in across from him. For a long moment, neither spoke. "I watched 10 minutes of the first file," Gabriel finally said. His voice sounded dead, even to himself. Vernon nodded. That's 9 minutes more than I could manage after the first day. I kept watching though. All 4 days. Documenting. Timestamping. Making copies. He pushed a folder across the table. Everything's here. The footage, screenshots, enhanced audio, license plates on their vehicles, timestamps of arrivals and departures. How long has this been happening? I only have 4 days. But, Vernon hesitated. The way your daughter acts on the footage. The routine they have. Gabriel, this isn't new. Gabriel's jaw clenched so tight his teeth ached. Who are the other two? I ran the plates. The big guy is Saul Groves. He did 20 years in San Quentin for aggravated assault and sexual battery. Got out 8 years ago. Works as private security for various clients. The other one is Johnny McNamara. He's a tech guy, computers, cameras, dark web stuff. He's got priors too, but they're sealed. Juvenile records, probably. How did you find this out? Vernon looked uncomfortable. I have a friend. Used to be a cop before he got fired for being too rough with suspects. He runs background checks for cash now. I gave him the plates this morning. Gabriel absorbed this. Reginald Davenport, respected retired prosecutor, was working with convicted felons to abuse an 8-year-old girl. His granddaughter. There's something else, Vernon said quietly. I enhanced the audio from yesterday's footage. They were talking. Reginald was on his phone, arguing with someone. I could only catch pieces, but... He pulled out a transcript. He said, the network's secure. We've been operational for 6 months. The clients are very satisfied. Then later, no, she's perfect. Compliant. Well-trained. The diner felt very cold suddenly. Network. Clients. I think, Vernon said carefully, that what they're doing to Lily isn't just personal abuse. I think they're producing content. For distribution. Gabriel thought he might black out. The edges of his vision went gray. Vernon gripped his wrist. Breathe. Gabriel, breathe. You pass out now, someone calls an ambulance, questions get asked. Breathe. Gabriel breathed. In, out. In, out. The gray receded. Why are you helping me, he asked. You could have called the cops anonymously. Stayed out of it. Vernon was quiet for a moment. My daughter is 12. She lives with my ex-wife in Seattle. I see her 1 weekend a month. His voice went rough. Last year, something happened at her school. A teacher. By the time it came out, he'd been doing it for 3 years. 37 kids. My daughter was one of them. He looked at Gabriel with hollow eyes. The school district circled the wagons. Good lawyers, better PR. The teacher got 2 years, served 9 months. Now he's on a registry somewhere living his life. My daughter can't sleep without lights on. Can't be alone with adult men, even me. And I couldn't do anything. The system protected him because he knew the right people, said the right things. He leaned forward. You've got a chance I didn't have. You've got evidence before lawyers get involved. Before stories get straight. Before Reginald uses his connections to make this disappear. Vernon's eyes were hard. I'm helping you because I wish someone had helped me. And because men like Reginald Davenport don't deserve mercy. Gabriel looked at the folder, at Vernon's haunted face, at the diner around them, where people ate pancakes and talked about weather and traffic, completely unaware that the world had fangs. What would you do? Gabriel asked. If you were me? Vernon didn't hesitate. I'd make them disappear. All 3 of them. I'd make it look like an accident, or a crime gone wrong, or anything except what it really is. Because if you go to the cops, even with video evidence, you're gambling on a system that protects men like Reginald. His lawyer friends, judge friends, cop friends, they'll close ranks. Your daughter will be questioned, traumatized further, put on display in a trial if it even gets that far. And Reginald might walk. He probably will walk. Vernon's voice was steel. But if he's gone, really gone, he can't hurt anyone ever again. Gabriel had never considered himself capable of murder. He was a chemical engineer, a suburban dad, a man who mowed his lawn on Saturdays and helped with third-grade homework. But sitting in that diner, looking at the evidence of what had been done to his daughter, to his Lily, he felt something shift inside him. I need to think, Gabriel said. Think fast, Vernon replied. Every day you wait is another day there with her. Miranda takes her to school, but they bring her back somehow. She never actually makes it to class, does she? Gabriel's blood went cold. He'd never checked. Miranda handled the school routine while he was at work. He pulled out his phone and called Roosevelt Elementary. Hi, this is Gabriel McCarty, Lily's father. I'm calling to check on her attendance this week. Yes, I'll hold. His hand was shaking. What? Are you sure? Since when? He hung up, his face ashen. Lily hasn't been to school in 3 weeks. Miranda's been getting calls, but she told them Lily had a family emergency out of state. The school bought it. Vernon nodded grimly. Miranda's in on it. No. Gabriel shook his head violently. No, she can't be. She loves Lily. She's a good mother. She would never. Then why hasn't she mentioned that Lily's been home from school? Why hasn't she asked you about the family emergency she made up? Why does Reginald have a key to your house? The implications crashed over Gabriel like a wave. Miranda knew. His wife, Lily's mother, knew what her father was doing and was helping him do it. I need more proof, Gabriel said, but his voice was hollow. I need to be sure about Miranda. Then set up a camera, Vernon said. I can help you. Something small, hidden. See what happens when you're at work tomorrow. Gabriel nodded slowly, his mind racing. Chemical engineer. He worked with compounds, with reactions, with things that could be deadly in the wrong hands. Or the right ones. Okay, he said. Let's start gathering everything we need. But Vernon, he looked the older man in the eyes. If we do this, if we go that route, there's no going back. You'd be an accessory. Vernon smiled, but it was a terrible smile, full of old pain and new purpose. Gabriel, I've been waiting for someone to give me a reason to fight back. Let's make these bastards pay. They talked for another hour, planning, scheming, two ordinary men plotting extraordinary violence in a diner booth, while a waitress refilled their coffee and the world spun on, oblivious. When Gabriel finally drove home, it was 4:30 p.m. Lily and Miranda were in the kitchen making dinner. Lily ran to hug him, and Gabriel held her tight, memorizing the feel of her, the smell of her strawberry shampoo, the sound of her laugh. Behind her, Miranda smiled. How was work, honey? Gabriel looked at his wife, really looked at her, searching for signs of the monster she must be to allow this. But all he saw was Miranda. Beautiful, perfect Miranda who made organic lunches and volunteered at the library and kissed him goodbye every morning. Fine, he lied. It was fine. That night, while Miranda slept, Gabriel went to his study and watched all 4 days of footage. Every minute, every second. He forced himself to see it all, to understand exactly what had been done to his daughter, to burn it into his memory so that when the time came, he wouldn't hesitate. By dawn, Gabriel McCarty was no longer the man he'd been. That man was dead, killed by the truth. What remained was something harder, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. And he was going to make them pay. The next morning, Gabriel called in sick to work, a first in his 6 years at the company. He told Miranda he had a stomach bug and would be working from home. She seemed concerned, brought him tea, kissed his forehead. The performance was Oscar-worthy. After Miranda left with Lily for school, Gabriel texted Vernon. Within 20 minutes, the older man was at the back door with a small duffel bag. This is from my cousin who does surveillance work, Vernon said, pulling out 3 tiny cameras no bigger than shirt buttons. They connect to a dedicated router, encrypted signal, record to cloud storage. Battery lasts 48 hours. They're motion activated, so they'll only record when someone's in the room. They placed one in the living room bookshelf, one in the kitchen tucked behind the microwave, one in Lily's room hidden inside a stuffed elephant on her dresser. Gabriel's hands shook as he adjusted the elephant's position. This was his daughter's room, her safe space, and these monsters had violated it. At 10:45 a.m., they retreated to Vernon's house to watch the feeds on his laptop. At 10:58, Reginald's Mercedes pulled up. The 3 men got out. But this time, there was a 4th person, Miranda. She'd driven separately and arrived 30 seconds after them. God damn it, Gabriel whispered. They watched as Miranda unlocked the front door with her key. The group entered. On the living room camera, they could see Miranda laughing at something Reginald said. Comfortable. Casual. Like this was routine. Where's Lily? Vernon asked. Bus stop. Miranda's voice came through the audio, crystal clear. She'll be here in 10 minutes. Saul, can you go get her? Tell her mommy's waiting. The big man, Saul Groves, nodded and left. On screen, Reginald poured himself a scotch from Gabriel's bar. The client from Singapore is very pleased with the last batch of content. He's requesting more with the same subject. He's offering double the usual rate. Gabriel's vision went red. Vernon gripped his shoulder, hard. Stay calm. Record everything. Miranda nodded. Lily's been very cooperative lately. I think she understands that this is just part of family now. Johnny McNamara, the thin one, set up camera equipment in the living room with practiced efficiency. Audio level's good. Lighting's perfect with the afternoon sun. Should we use the same scenario as last time? No, Reginald said, his voice casual, discussing horror like it was a business transaction. The client wants something new. More participatory. I'll need Miranda in frame for this one. Miranda hesitated. Dad, I don't know if. 40,000 for 3 hours of work. Reginald cut her off. Plus your usual cut. Don't get squeamish now, darling. You've been in plenty of the content before. Gabriel lurched up, stumbling toward Vernon's bathroom. He vomited until there was nothing left, then dry heaved until his ribs ached. Vernon appeared in the doorway with a glass of water. I can't watch anymore, Gabriel said. You don't have to. It's recording. We have everything we need now. Vernon's face was grim. Your wife is actively participating. She's not a victim here, Gabriel. She's a perpetrator. Gabriel rinsed his mouth, his mind reeling. 6 years of marriage. 6 years of lies. How long had Miranda been broken? Had Reginald done this to her when she was young? Or was she simply evil, choosing money over her daughter's innocence? It didn't matter. The why didn't matter. Only the what. I need to make a call, Gabriel said. He returned to Vernon's living room and dialed a number he hadn't used in 5 years. This is Lance, a gruff voice answered. Lance, it's Gabriel McCarty. A pause. Gabriel? Damn, I thought you were dead or something. Haven't heard from you since you went civilian. Lance Riley had been Gabriel's best friend in college. They'd been chemistry majors together, stayed close through grad school. But while Gabriel had gone into pharmaceuticals, Lance had gone a different route. Underground manufacturing, research chemicals, stuff that existed in legal gray areas. Last Gabriel heard, Lance was running a lab in rural Washington making compounds for experimental purposes. I need your help, Gabriel said. Something that can't be traced. Something that works fast. Lance's tone shifted. Gabriel, you know I don't do that kind of work. I make research chemicals, not. They're hurting my daughter, Gabriel interrupted. His voice cracked. Lance, they're hurting Lily. And I need to make it stop in a way that ensures they can never hurt anyone again. Silence on the line. Then, send me an encrypted email. Use the old Proton Mail account from grad school. Detail what you need. I'll see what I can do. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. What you're asking for. Gabriel, if this goes wrong, we're both looking at life sentences. It won't go wrong, Gabriel said. I'm going to be very, very careful. He hung up. On Vernon's laptop, they could see Saul returning with Lily. The little girl looked resigned, defeated. She didn't even protest when Miranda led her upstairs. Gabriel turned the laptop off. He couldn't watch. Not anymore. I'm going to need your help for the next few days, he told Vernon. Documentation, alibis, maybe some muscle if things go sideways. Vernon nodded. What are we doing? We're going to make them confess, Gabriel said. Everything. Every victim, every client, every piece of this network. And then we're going to erase them from the earth so completely that even their dental records won't be enough to identify them. That's ambitious. I'm a chemical engineer, Gabriel said with a cold smile. I know exactly how to make people disappear. Over the next 3 days, Gabriel fell into a routine that would have seemed normal to anyone watching. He went to work, came home, had dinner with his family. He smiled and laughed and played with Lily. At night, he planned with Vernon. Lance came through with a package delivered to Vernon's house. 5 vials of clear liquid, each carefully labeled. The note inside read, odorless, tasteless, causes cardiac arrest within 4 to 6 hours. Metabolizes completely, undetectable in standard tox screens. The second vial is slower acting, 12 to 18 hours, presents as natural causes. The third will cause violent seizures and death within minutes. Choose wisely. After this, we never speak again. Gabriel held the vials up to the light. Such small things. Such power. But the poison was only part of the plan. Gabriel needed confessions, evidence that would outlast their deaths, assurance that if anything went wrong, the truth would still come out. He found his solution in Johnny McNamara's laptop. On Thursday morning, while the monsters were at his house with Lily, Gabriel broke into Johnny's apartment. It was easier than expected. Johnny lived in a shitty complex downtown, more concerned with his dark web activities than physical security. Gabriel had brought a USB drive loaded with keylogging software, packet sniffers, and remote access Trojans. All of it courtesy of a dark web forum Vernon had connected him with. Within 20 minutes, Gabriel had access to Johnny's entire digital life. What he found made him wish he'd brought a bigger drive. Johnny's laptop was a treasure trove of evidence. Not just of Lily, but of dozens of other children. Files organized by name, age, location. A customer database with email addresses and cryptocurrency wallet IDs. Chat logs discussing products and inventory. Shipping manifests for hard drives containing content being mailed to clients worldwide. Reginald Davenport wasn't just abusing his granddaughter. He was running an international child exploitation network, and he'd been doing it for at least 5 years. Gabriel copied everything. Every file, every email, every transaction record. He uploaded it all to an encrypted cloud storage with deadman switches. If Gabriel didn't log in every 72 hours, the files would automatically send to the FBI, Interpol, and every major news organization simultaneously. Insurance. That night, Gabriel sat Miranda down after Lily went to bed. "I want to talk about expanding our family," he said, keeping his voice warm and loving. "Maybe another child. But I'm worried about my sperm count with all the chemical exposure at work. I want to get tested." Miranda smiled. "That's wonderful, honey. I'd love another baby. I'm going to ask my dad about fertility doctors," Gabriel continued. "Maybe schedule an appointment for next week." "Your dad?" Miranda looked confused. "Gabriel, your father died when you were 12. "I meant your dad," Gabriel corrected smoothly. "Reginald. He knows all the best doctors in Portland, right?" Miranda's smile didn't waver. "Of course. Dad knows everyone. I'll ask him about it when he comes over tomorrow." Tomorrow. Friday. The day Gabriel's plan would either work perfectly or cost him everything. That night, Gabriel held Lily while she slept. She'd started having nightmares lately, crying out in the dark. Miranda always got to her first, always calmed her down before Gabriel could investigate. He understood why now. "I'm going to fix this, pumpkin," he whispered. "Daddy's going to make the bad people go away. I promise." Friday morning dawned gray and cold, typical October in Portland. Gabriel went through his routine with mechanical precision. He packed his briefcase, kissed Miranda goodbye, ruffled Lily's hair at the breakfast table. Every movement calculated, every word measured. "Don't forget," Miranda said, "Dad's coming over today around 11. I thought we could all have lunch together tomorrow. You, me, Dad, and Lily. Family time." "Sounds perfect," Gabriel lied. He drove to work, badged in, went to his lab. At 9:30 a.m., he told his supervisor he needed to run to the pharmacy for his wife. She'd called asking for her prescription to be picked up. The supervisor waved him off. Gabriel was a model employee. No one questioned him. Instead of the pharmacy, Gabriel drove to a storage unit he'd rented under a fake name 3 days ago. Inside was everything he needed: zip ties, duct tape, tarps, a case of industrial-strength cleaning supplies, and a propane torch. He loaded it all into his trunk, drove to a second location, and picked up the final piece: a handgun purchased from one of Vernon's shadier contacts. Gabriel had never owned a gun before, had never wanted one, but he wasn't going to rely solely on poison and planning. If things went wrong, he needed to be able to end it quickly and permanently. At 10:30 a.m., Gabriel texted Vernon, "Ready?" The response came immediately, "Born ready." Gabriel parked 4 blocks from his house and approached on foot, staying in the tree line of the neighborhood park. Vernon was waiting at the agreed-upon spot with a backpack. "Cameras are still active," Vernon confirmed. "All 3 are inside. Mercedes and a Honda Civic in the driveway. Miranda's SUV is there too." "Good. Lily." "They picked her up from the bus stop 20 minutes ago." Gabriel's jaw tightened. "Let's move." They approached Gabriel's house from the back, using the fence line for cover. Vernon's camera system had given them perfect reconnaissance. They knew exactly where everyone was positioned. Living room: Reginald and Johnny setting up equipment. Kitchen: Miranda making sandwiches. Lily's bedroom: Saul with Lily. The back door was unlocked, just as Gabriel knew it would be. They slipped inside, Gabriel in front, Vernon covering the rear. Gabriel had the gun in his waistband and a syringe in his pocket, the fast-acting poison, just in case. But he was hoping for a cleaner solution. They could hear Miranda humming in the kitchen. Gabriel moved silently down the hallway, Vernon's presence solid behind him. The living room was around the corner. Gabriel took a breath, steadied himself, and stepped into view. Reginald looked up from his scotch. His eyes widened. Gabriel? What are you doing home? I live here, Gabriel said calmly. He pulled the gun from his waistband. Don't move. Either of you. Johnny froze, hands raised. Reginald stood slowly, his face shifting from surprise to something calculating. Gabriel, put that away. This isn't what you think. Really? Gabriel kept the gun trained on Reginald's chest. Because I think you've been sexually exploiting my daughter and selling content to predators worldwide. I think you've been doing it for months with my wife's knowledge and participation. I think you're a monster dressed in expensive suits, and I think I'm going to make you confess every single detail before I end you. Reginald's mask slipped, showing the predator beneath. You have no idea what you're messing with, boy. I have friends. Connections. You shoot me, you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. Not if there's no body, Gabriel said. Vernon, get the zip ties. A crash from the kitchen. Miranda appeared in the doorway, her face pale. Gabriel, what? Oh my God. Honey, put the gun down. You don't understand. Where's Lily? Gabriel's voice was ice. Upstairs with Saul Groves, convicted sex offender, who's probably hurting her right now while you make sandwiches. Yeah, I understand plenty, Miranda. Tears formed in her eyes. You don't understand. My father, he... Save it. Gabriel gestured with the gun. All three of you on the floor. Hands behind your backs. Vernon's going to tie you up, and then we're going to have a very detailed conversation about everything you've done. Reginald laughed. Actually laughed. This is amateur hour. You think zip ties and a gun are enough? Saul will hear the commotion. He's former military, Gabriel. He'll come down those stairs and break you in half. Then he'll die too, Gabriel said flatly. The cold certainty in his voice made Reginald's smile falter. Vernon moved forward with the zip ties. Johnny cooperated immediately, getting on the floor. Miranda was crying, pleading. Gabriel, please, I can explain. My father, he did things to me when I was little. He made me. I said save it. But Reginald wasn't cooperating. He stood his ground, eyes on Gabriel. You're not a killer. I've read you, boy. 6 years of playing the good son-in-law, bending over backward to earn my approval. You're weak. Soft. You won't pull that trigger. Gabriel pulled the trigger. The shot took Reginald in the right shoulder, spinning him around. He hit the floor screaming, blood spreading across his designer shirt. Upstairs, they heard movement. Saul had heard the gunshot. Tie them up now. Gabriel barked at Vernon. Heavy footsteps thundered down the stairs. Saul Groves appeared, massive and angry, taking in the scene. His hand went to his waistband. He was armed. Gabriel shot him twice in the chest. Saul stumbled backward, hit the wall, slid down leaving a smear of blood. His hand came up with a pistol, slow, determined. Gabriel shot him once more, in the head. The gun fell from Saul's hand. His body went still. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by Reginald's moaning and Miranda's sobbing. Lily, Gabriel shouted. Lily, honey, it's Daddy. Come down here. Small footsteps on the stairs. And then Lily appeared, her face pale, her clothes disheveled. When she saw Gabriel, her whole face transformed. Daddy, she ran to him. Gabriel scooped her up with one arm, keeping the gun trained on the others with his other hand. It's okay, baby. Daddy's got you. You're safe now. Vernon finished zip-tying Johnny and moved to Reginald, who was clutching his shoulder, blood pumping between his fingers. You shot me. You shot me, you crazy son of a... Shut up, Gabriel said. He turned to Vernon. Take Lily to your house. Keep her there. Don't let her see anything else. Vernon nodded, gently taking Lily from Gabriel's arms. Come on, sweetheart. Mr. Baker's got some ice cream at his place. How about we go have some while your dad finishes talking to these people? Lily looked back at Gabriel, her eyes full of trust. You're coming too, right, Daddy? Soon, pumpkin. I promise. When Vernon and Lily were gone, Gabriel turned his attention to the 3 people who destroyed his life. Here's how this is going to work, he said, his voice deadly calm. You're going to tell me everything. Every victim. Every client. Every location where you've stored content. Every person involved in your network. And you're going to say it clearly, because I'm recording all of this. He pulled out his phone, set it to record video, and positioned it to capture all their faces. Miranda was still crying. Gabriel, please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was abused too. I didn't have a choice. You always had a choice, Gabriel said. You chose to protect him instead of her. You chose money over your daughter's safety. You chose to participate. So you're going to tell me exactly what you did, when you did it, and why. And then you're going to tell me everyone else involved. And if we don't, Reginald said through gritted teeth. Gabriel walked over to him, pressed the gun barrel against his wounded shoulder, and pushed. Reginald screamed. Then I'll make you suffer for days before you die, Gabriel said. I'm a chemical engineer, Reginald. I know compounds that can cause pain you can't imagine. Nerve agents that make every cell in your body feel like it's on fire. Toxins that shut down your organs one by one while you stay conscious and aware. He wasn't bluffing. He'd spent the last 3 nights researching exactly how to cause maximum suffering if necessary. Or, Gabriel continued, pulling the gun back, you can cooperate. You can confess everything on camera. You can give me names and evidence. And in exchange, I'll make your deaths quick, relatively painless. A mercy you don't deserve, but that I'm willing to grant for the sake of my own humanity. Johnny broke first. I'll talk. Jesus Christ, I'll talk. Just don't hurt me. Start with the client list, Gabriel said. Names, email addresses, wallet IDs. Everything. Johnny talked for 20 minutes straight, naming names, reciting numbers, detailing the operation's scope. As Gabriel suspected, they weren't alone. They were franchisees in a network that spanned continents. Reginald's legal connections had been perfect for screening clients and avoiding law enforcement. When Johnny finished, Gabriel turned to Miranda. Your turn. She confessed through tears, detailing her own abuse as a child, how Reginald had groomed her, how she'd been involved in producing content since she was 12, how when she'd gotten pregnant with Lily, Reginald had seen an opportunity, how she'd gone along because she was broken, because she didn't know how to say no to her father, because the money made her feel valuable. Gabriel listened without sympathy. Explanations weren't excuses. Miranda had been a victim once. Now she was a perpetrator. The distinction mattered. Finally, Reginald. The former prosecutor was defiant, even bleeding on Gabriel's floor. You think this ends with us? We're a hydra, Gabriel. Cut off one head, 3 more grow back. The network is bigger than you can imagine. Politicians, judges, police chiefs. You kill us, they'll come for you. They'll destroy you. Maybe, Gabriel said. But they'll have to find me first. And more importantly, they'll have to explain why they're coming after me when all the evidence of your operation goes public. He showed Reginald his phone, the dead man's switch, the cloud storage, the automated emails. In 60 hours, if I don't reset the timer, everything you've done goes to every major law enforcement agency and news organization on the planet. Every victim, every client, every transaction. Your network won't survive the exposure. Reginald's face went gray. You're insane. No, Gabriel said. I'm a father. He had what he needed. Confessions on video. Names and evidence backed up in multiple locations. Insurance against retaliation. Now came the hard part. Gabriel retrieved the vials from his jacket pocket. The slow-acting poison, the one that would present as natural causes. He loaded 3 syringes. What is that? Miranda whispered. Your exit, Gabriel said. You'll fall asleep in a few hours. Your hearts will stop. It'll look like cardiac arrest. Natural causes. No trace, no evidence. Please, Miranda begged. Please, Gabriel. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything. I'll testify. I'll help you destroy the network. Just please don't kill me. Gabriel looked at his wife, the woman he'd loved, the mother of his child, the monster who'd sold their daughter for money. You're already dead to me, Miranda. You died the first time you let him touch her. He injected Reginald first, then Johnny, then Miranda. They struggled, but zip-tied and terrified, they couldn't prevent it. The poison would take hours to work, but once administered, it was irreversible. You'll be found tomorrow, Gabriel said. A tragic scene. The retired prosecutor and his daughter, dead from simultaneous cardiac events. Her friend Johnny McNamara, same cause. Saul Groves, the security guard who was with them, killed in what appears to be a robbery gone wrong. That's what the bullet wounds will suggest once I stage it properly. The police will investigate, but they won't find anything suspicious. Just bad luck and coincidence. What about Lily? Miranda asked weakly. Lily is never seeing you again, Gabriel said. In her memory, her mother died today. She'll grow up knowing you loved her enough to protect her. I'll make sure of that. It was the kindest lie he could manage. Gabriel spent the next 3 hours staging the scene. He wiped down surfaces, planted evidence suggesting a robbery, made it look like Saul had been shot by an intruder who'd fled. He moved Reginald, Johnny, and Miranda to the living room sofa, positioned them like they'd been having drinks together when they'd collapsed. By the time the poison would take effect, they'd be unconscious. By tomorrow morning, they'd be dead. Gabriel took one last look at Miranda. Even now, even knowing what she'd done, part of him mourned the woman he'd thought she was. But that woman had never existed. Just a beautiful mask hiding right beneath. "Goodbye, Miranda," he said softly. Then he walked out of his house, locked the door behind him, and went to collect his daughter from Vernon's. Lily was sitting at Vernon's kitchen table eating ice cream, looking small and lost. When Gabriel entered, she ran to him. He held her for a long time. "Are the bad people gone?" she asked quietly. "Yes, baby. They're gone. They can't hurt you anymore." "Is Mommy okay?" Gabriel's heart broke. "Mommy's very sick, Pumpkin. She might not get better." Lily absorbed this with the strange wisdom of traumatized children. "Will you take care of me?" "Always," Gabriel promised. "Always and forever." He looked at Vernon over Lily's head. The older man nodded, understanding everything that didn't need to be said. The next morning, Gabriel called 911 in hysterics. He'd come home from staying at a hotel. He and Miranda had fought. He'd left to cool off, and found her dead on the couch with her father and their friend. And Saul, the security guard, shot in the hallway. The police came. They investigated. They questioned Gabriel extensively. But his alibi was solid. Hotel records, keycard entry logs, credit card receipts. He'd been nowhere near the house when the deaths occurred. The autopsies showed cardiac arrest for 3 of them. No toxicology flags. Lance's compound was as good as promised. Saul's death was ruled a homicide, but with no murder weapon found and no suspects, it went cold quickly. Reginald's lawyer friends tried to dig deeper, sensing something wrong. But then the dead man's switch triggered. Gabriel had reset it every 72 hours for 2 weeks. On day 15, he let it expire. The files exploded across the internet like a bomb. Every news organization, every law enforcement agency, every victim advocacy group received the complete documentation of Reginald Davenport's network. Names, faces, evidence, transactions. The dominoes started falling. Arrests were made across 3 continents. Politicians resigned. Judges were investigated. The network that had seemed invincible shattered under the weight of exposure. And Gabriel McCarty, grieving widower and single father, was never connected to any of it. He was just another victim of Reginald's evil, a man who'd lost his wife to his father-in-law's crimes. The media called him brave for cooperating with investigators, for providing evidence about his late wife's involvement, for making sure justice was served even though it destroyed his family's reputation. He played the part perfectly, the heartbroken husband who'd never known, the protective father shielding his daughter from the ugly truth, the reluctant hero helping bring down a monster. Only Vernon knew the real story, and Vernon wasn't talking. 3 months later, Gabriel sat in his backyard watching Lily play. She'd started therapy twice a week with a specialist in childhood trauma. She had nightmares sometimes, but they were getting less frequent. She smiled more now, laughed more. The house felt empty without Miranda, but Gabriel was learning to fill it with better things. Lily's artwork on the fridge, her favorite foods in the pantry, photos of just the 2 of them, building a new life from the wreckage of the old. Vernon came over for dinner most nights. He and Lily had bonded over ice cream and bad jokes. She called him Uncle Vernon now. He'd become part of their small, strange family. "You did good," Vernon said one evening after Lily had gone to bed. They were sitting on Gabriel's back deck, drinking beer, watching the stars. "I murdered 4 people," Gabriel said quietly. "You removed 4 monsters from the world," Vernon corrected. "And you brought down a network that was hurting hundreds of kids. The FBI's still making arrests based on those files. You saved lives, Gabriel. Doesn't make me feel less like a killer." "Good," Vernon said. "The day it stops bothering you is the day you become what they were. As long as it weighs on you, you're still human." They sat in silence for a while, 2 men carrying secrets that would follow them to their graves. "Thank you," Gabriel finally said, "for knocking on my door that night, for helping me, for everything." Vernon raised his beer bottle. "To doing what's necessary." Gabriel clinked his bottle against Vernon's. "To protecting what matters." They drank, and in the house behind them, Lily slept peacefully for the first time in months, safe in the knowledge that the monsters were gone and her father would always protect her. Gabriel had lost his wife, his innocence, and any claim to moral high ground. But he'd gained something more important, his daughter's future, her safety, her chance to heal and grow and become something more than a victim. And for that, he'd do it all again. The network Reginald built continued to crumble. Gabriel watched the news each night, marking each arrest, each conviction, each child saved. The prosecutors called it the largest child exploitation case in U.S. history. They praised the anonymous tipster who'd provided the evidence. Gabriel said nothing, accepted their praise for his cooperation, and focused on being the father Lily deserved. Some nights, he thought about Reginald's last words, "You're not a killer." But Reginald had been wrong. Gabriel was a killer. He'd killed 4 people in cold blood and staged it to look like natural causes and coincidence. He'd poisoned his own wife. He'd shot a man in the head. And he'd do it again without hesitation if anyone ever threatened his daughter. Because that's what fathers do. They protect. They fight. They become monsters to defeat monsters. And they live with the consequences, carrying the weight so their children don't have to. Gabriel McCarty was a murderer, but he was also a hero, even if no one could ever know it. And in the end, watching his daughter laugh and play and slowly heal, that was enough. The nightmares would come for Gabriel. They already did. He'd see Reginald's face, hear Miranda's pleas, feel the gun's recoil. But he'd endure them. He'd carry that burden forever if it meant Lily could sleep peacefully. Vernon was right. As long as it weighed on him, he was still human, still capable of good despite the evil he'd done. And that would have to be enough. Because in a world where monsters wore suits and used law degrees as camouflage, sometimes the only justice was the justice you made yourself. Sometimes the only way to protect innocence was to sacrifice your own. Gabriel had made that choice. He'd live with it. And he'd make damn sure it was worth it by giving Lily the best life possible. That was his penance, his purpose, his redemption. And maybe, someday, it would be enough. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.